Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us on this beautiful day in America. Well, sparks were flying earlier today on Capitol Hill as RFK Jr. testified before the Senate Finance Committee, to where he was asked many questions. Of course, the Democrats came with possibly some of the dumbest questions that could have been asked, and we're giving brutal answers. I mean, we have all of the footage, at least the footage that's worth bringing to you guys, to give you guys all a good laugh on just how stupid and dumb some of these Democrats are and how little they know about anything and how they just pick up their pieces of paper from their staff and they read off of it not knowing anything about what they're talking about. It's what they've done for years. I don't really know, I think, a single member on the Democrat side. There's a few on the Republican side. I don't know what's going on, but the Democrats, none of them really know what's going on. So they bring RFK in for this meeting and they think they're going to get him with a gotcha. We're going to embarrass you. We're going to make a media hit of it. We'll get a clip. We'll put it on Twitter, and then we'll go on CNBC later. We'll go on CNN, and we'll laugh at you. The problem was RFK Jr. absolutely flipped the script on them. And, I mean, they looked like total buffoons, total fools, total losers, and total failures. So let's begin with going through some of that testimony today. And I guess we could start with, there's so much to get to, but I guess we can start with RFK Jr. Opening up about the recent shakeup at the HHS and the CDC with Director Susan Monterez leaving, getting fired, whatever you call it. I go with getting fired because she was no longer wanted there and she threw her little hissy fit. But RFK didn't shy away from it, took it head on. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Finally, I would like to address the recent shakeups at CDC. These changes were absolutely necessary adjustments to restore the agency to its role as the world's gold standard public health agency with the central mission of protecting Americans from infectious disease. CDC failed that responsibility miserably during COVID, when its disastrous and nonsensical policies destroyed small businesses, violated civil liberties, closed our schools, caused generational damage in doing so, masked infants with no science, and heightened economic inequality. And yet all those oppressive and unscientific interventions failed to do anything about the disease itself. America is home to 4.2% of the world's population, yet we had nearly 20% of the COVID deaths. We literally did worse than any country in the world. And the people at CDC who oversaw that process, who put masks on our children, who closed our schools, are the people who will be leaving. And that's why we need bold, competent, and creative new leadership at CDC. People able and willing to chart a new course. As my father once said, progress is a nice word, but change is its motivator, and change has its enemies. That's why we need new blood at CDC. That's also why it's imperative that we remove officials with conflicts of interest and catastrophically bad judgment and political agendas. We need unbiased, politics-free, transparent, evidence-based science in the public interest. Those are the guiding principles behind the changes at the CDC, and that is what you can expect all across our agency for the next 3 years.
It's President Trump's administration. It's RFK's HHS to run. They're entitled to have their own people. That's just how it works. Holdovers usually are kicked to the curb, as they should be. They agree on nothing, pending that it's two different administrations, meaning Republican to Democrat or Democrat to Republican, as it was. So there should be no uproar about anything. They don't fundamentally agree on things. And those people are now being pushed out. Now, Susan Monterez wasn't President Trump's first pick. Of course, there was some horse trading done in the Senate where President Trump's original pick wasn't getting the votes needed. Bill Cassidy, Rhino from Louisiana, who we won't even give credence to here, sort of pushed in this woman. And she doesn't agree with RFK on certain things, fundamentally vaccines, which now seem to be are going to move to an optional. Like we saw what Florida did, announced yesterday. Dr. Joseph Ladapo, the Florida Surgeon General going to make it optional for kids to get vaccines. It should be on the parents. If you want to vaccinate your kid with every vaccine under the sun, that's your choice. If you're a parent who wants to err on the other side and not take your newborn kid and shove them with 100 different needles, that's also your choice. My body, my choice, right? My kid's body, my choice. It works one way, but not the other. And that's the Democrats' playbook. That's how the Democrats do things. You know, their little sayings, their acronyms, they only are in play when it works for them. My body, my choice only works when you want to abort a living fetus. My body, my choice doesn't apply when you have a newborn child and they have to go to school and they can't go to school because they need vaccines. Now, I know I have personal friends who I have witnessed kids get vaccines. Normal kids, perfectly healthy kids get vaccines and change over the course of a year from a normal child to a severely autistic child. I've watched it with my own eyes. Friends had to move from New York to Florida because they didn't want to put any more vaccines in their kids after seeing what happened to their kid. Perfectly normal baby, child, fully functioning to a non-functioning level of autism. The numbers are there to look at. I'm not a doctor and I don't claim to be a doctor. But when you look at the levels of autism and the rates of autism among males and females and children, the numbers are through the roofs. And what is the common denominator that's been happening? Well, I guess you can look at foods and certain things that are being fed, but the number of vaccines have drastically gone up from when probably most of your kids or your parents to what they are now. It's to a level that I think has pushed people to the limit where they say enough is enough. Enough is enough. Our kid's body, our choice. So RFK Jr. then went on to talk about what his HHS is doing. Now, this is something we haven't heard the transparency level wise from an HHS director. I don't, at least in my lifetime, not even President Trump's last administration. I think it was run by Alex Azar, who was a lawyer. Didn't really know much. RFK has been talking about health his entire career, his entire life, his entire adult life. Take a listen to what he had to say about what his HHS is doing differently than previous administrations and what they're cracking down on.
We are ending gain-of-function research, child mutilation, and reducing animal testing. We are addressing cell phone use in schools, excessive screen time for youth, the lack of nutrition education in our medical schools, sickle cell anemia, hepatitis C, the East Palestine chemical spill, and many, many others. At FDA, we are now on track to approve more drugs this year than at any time in history. I'm also proud to say that HHS under President Trump is doing more with less. We have taken measures to fight waste, fraud, and abuse. Just by eliminating duplicative enrollments in CMS, we are saving taxpayers $14 billion a year. Meanwhile, we are expanding access for people who need it. We are ending racist diversity, equity, and inclusion practices and instead focusing on aiding low-income and vulnerable families, regardless of their race, which was the original intent of Title X. We're also pouring $1 billion into Head Start and the Administration for Children and Families. Compassion need not be the casualty of efficiency. I'd like to highlight some issues that have not gotten media attention. First, we are doing our part to fulfill the President's commitment to stop human trafficking, especially of children. We inherited a terrible humanitarian crisis from the previous administration with its open border policies, which allowed the appalling loss of 476,000 unaccompanied children. We have implemented policies now to ensure that that appalling tragedy can never happen again. We have knocked on 82,000 doors and located 22,000 of those children. I promise you that we will do more in the next 3 years. We are also addressing the disastrous health conditions in tribal communities on Native American reservations. I've met face-to-face with tribal leaders in dozens of communities and tribes in Alaska, Arizona, Idaho, New Mexico, and elsewhere. And I look forward to making HHS resources more available to those communities. One of the most significant initiatives under President Trump is the Rural Health Transformation Fund, part of the president's big, beautiful bill, which will provide the greatest investment of federal money into rural health care in history.
More transparency than we've seen out of that department than I've ever seen. Yet the Democrats can't stand him. Now, Kennedy himself, lifelong Democrat, family of lifelong Democrats. You often hear, I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. And it seems to be a growing trend. You have more people leaving the Democratic Party than leaving the Republican Party to go to the left. You hear about the Republican ones more because the Democrats, I guess, try to frame it that way. But you have people leaving at a record pace. Nobody wants to be part of this radical Marxist ideology and be tied to it. Now, there's some people, I don't mean everybody, but there's some people who are willing to go down with this burning ship, and it is absolutely a burning ship. This whole Marxist socialist ideology is going to go down in flames. I mean, it's going to implode. And those people are going to be stuck with the particles all over their faces. I mean, just blobs of goo stuck to their face. The AOCs, the Mamamdanis, the Bernie Sanders. I don't know how many of them actually believe it, but the fact that they're willing to go out there and spew this stuff and be on the record being so darn dumb, I guess it shows you what these people think of themselves. So everything they do, the further they push left, the more people come right. You remember Roe v. Wade being overturned, right, at the Supreme Court? And they thought they had the election in the bag, and that was it for the Republicans. The Republicans were dead men walking. That was it. They were done. But as usual, it backfired on them. They thought they were going to scare Americans into believing that abortions were outlawed everywhere. Not simply just explaining that it was up to the state. If you lived in a Marxist blue state that wanted you to be allowed to abort fetuses, you were going to be allowed to. If you lived in a great red state, there was provisions added. Simple. So the Democrats have constantly caught their hand in the cookie jar, and they've gotten burned time and time again. And it makes you wonder, are they really this stupid? And I think the answer is yes. Deceptive, some of them smart in the sense of deception and being maniacal. But IQ-wise, I don't think these people are smart. And I keep saying it because I think it's important. I believe these socialist Marxist Democrats, now it's not the entire party, but if you associate yourself with the Democratic Party, it's what you're associating yourself with, because this is the new wing of the Democratic Party, that they're going to go down with this burning ship. And I don't think there's going to be any coming back from it. And I guess we'll see the first test come November here in New York City. If socialist jihadist Zohan Mamdani wins. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting to watch. And I'm not entirely sure. I don't want him to win. If this many people could be so dumb to vote for what he says he's going to do, state-run, city-run grocery stores, no MTA fares, prostitution, the decriminalization of certain drugs. If people are as dumb to believe, now the two highest groups of people who voted for this man were whites and Asians. If people are this dumb to vote for this man, I'm not convinced that this isn't what the city needs. Maybe this is what New York City needs to correct itself. It's not what I want. It's not what I want to the city that I grew up in, that I love so much. But maybe it's what it needs. Maybe it's what it needs for people to wake up and open their eyes and realize that these people are going to destroy this country. They're going to destroy every financial institution in this city. The banks, they've already started leaving. Bank of America started shifting their operation down south to Charlotte, where they're headquartered, moving part of their operation down to Miami, Florida. Now, if you think about it, there's really no benefit for them to be in New York in the first place. You've got among the highest taxes in the country. You have among the highest real estate in the country, the highest office space in the country, the crime through the roof, drug addicts flowing the streets. You've got to be worried about, if you're a CEO, someone coming up from behind you and shooting you in the back of the head, as we saw with the United Healthcare CEO here in New York. You really have no reason to be here. So with people like Mamdani coming in to destroy this city, it further pushes these institutions out. Then what is New York going to do? What are they going to do with all that real estate? What is JP Morgan going to do with that state-of-the-art building that they just built? People don't want to go back to the office to begin with. Still, what is New York going to do then? So that's why when I say maybe this is what New York needs, maybe this is what these institutions need in order to come speak out. Jamie Dimon, who's one of the biggest cowards at JP Morgan in the banking industry, pussyfooted around supporting Kamala Harris, even though he and his wife supported her behind closed doors, now wants to come out and be the big guy. Now he wants to come out and support Trump. That ship has sailed. You made your bed, now lay in it. This is what you supported. Don't try to come running back now because you realized how dumb you are. The ship has sailed. Folks, we're going to take a quick break here. I didn't mean to get off on that rant, but I mean, this is just the reality, folks, of what we're living in right now and the reality of what could be in just a few months. Now, I talk about New York. It's because where I was raised, where I grew up, where I made my career. But it can happen anywhere. If it can happen in New York, it can happen anywhere. And it should be a wake-up call to everybody to protect yourself before it gets to this point. I'm sure nobody thought Mamdani was going to get through a primary and that Cuomo had it in the bag or Adams had it in the bag. But this is the reality of where we're in. We're going to take a quick break here, folks. On the other side of this quick break, we're going to get back to that RFK coverage and some of the Democrats he obliterated. We've also got some whistleblower story, which is very interesting, and we're going to break it down for you. That a CIA manual, yes, CIA manual, being circulated around the office of HHS to sabotage RFK Jr. Yeah, we're going to take all that up on the other side of this quick break. So much more to get to. President Trump sued once again from a rogue attorney general. Cook, the Board of Governors Cook, is under criminal investigation officially from the Department of Justice. Rand Paul is losing his mind. Yeah, he's on the Thomas Massie bandwagon. Marco Rubio's got a chilling message for the drug cartels. All of that and so much more on the other side of this quick break, folks. We are live tonight, by the way, so let us know where you're tuning in from. Any questions, comments, we'll try to get to them. Shout outs, Kelly Song, as always. Strafer, always a delight to have you guys. G Weefy, everyone else over on YouTube, we appreciate you joining us. Folks, we're going to take a quick break here. On the other side of this break, all of that and so much more. The Great America Show continues in just one moment. Please stay with us.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that we're making it through. My employees and I want to thank you for your continued support by extending our wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows only $14.98. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.98. But it gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows $29.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including my standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98, Kings only $1 more. Not only that, order $75 or more, ship absolutely free.
From all of us here at MyPillow,
thanks, America!
And Mike Lindell appreciates all your orders, folks. People, my friends were laughing at me. I did a bunch of traveling over the summer to Europe and most recently Asia. And I used a bag just to bring my pillows with me. It's not a joke. I I can't sleep without them now. Mike's got me fully addicted. So a testament to his products and money back guarantee if you don't like it. What's better than that? So let's get back now to this RFK nonsense and what the Democrats thought they were going to do. They thought they were going to railroad him. Little did they know he's got a triple-digit IQ when they have double-digit IQs. There's a threshold there, and they're at the bad side of it. So let's go to first. We'll go to Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon, a man who thought he was going to get. Actually, no. You know what? Let's do Bennett, Colorado Senator Bennett, a man who thought he was going to get him. He thought he was going to get him, and he was. I think he was sadly awoken to who he works for, and it's not the big pharma companies. Let's take a listen.
I think it's critical for you to share the evidence that this panel will rely on. Will you give the American people 6 months or 6 weeks in advance the record that they're going to rely on to make these decisions? Will you make it transparent for the American people?
All the evidence is transparent.
Will you make it in advance transparent for the American people so they can comment on it?
All the evidence is transparent for the first time in history, and you were never there complaining when the pharmaceutical companies were picking those people and then running their products through with no safety testing.
You can characterize it any way you want. I quoted them today. What I said was accurate. What you said were lies. You described
Senator,
moving the Titanic.
Are you saying that the mRNA vaccine has never been associated with myocarditis or pericarditis in teenagers?
I am simply.
Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I am simply trying to say that the people that you have put on that panel, after firing the entire.
You're evading the question.
No, I'm asking the questions here,
You're
Mr.
evading
Kennedy.
that question.
I'm asking the questions,
I
Mr.
asked
Kennedy.
you a question.
I'm asking the questions for Mr. Kennedy on behalf of parents and schools and teachers all over the United States of America who deserve so much better than your leadership. That's what this conversation is about, Mr. Chairman.
Senator, they deserve the truth, and that's what we're going to give them for the first time in the history of that agency.
I mean, that's so embarrassing. A career politician in Bennett, Rand Paul, obviously not. But he was far from the only one who got obliterated and was made to look a fool. We'll now go to Ron Wyden. RFK did not relent on him either.
Enacting an agenda that I think is fundamentally cruel and defies common sense. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do I got a reply? Or Senator, you've sat in that chair for how long? 20, 25 years, while the chronic disease in our children went up to 76%. And you said nothing. You never asked the question why it's happening. Why is this happening? Today, for the first time in 20 years, we learned that infant mortality has increased in our country. It's not because I came in here. It's because of what happened during the Biden administration that we're going to end.
I'm going to let Senator Wyden respond briefly to that, and then we're not going to go over like we just did.
This committee on a bipartisan basis.
Ship of fools is what those people are. But RFK is right to call him out on it. How long have you been there, Senator? 20, 25 years, and you don't care about X, Y, and Z. Because they don't. They don't care about anybody. They care about themselves. They care about their next election. And they care about the money that they're getting. Well, speaking of the money they're getting, Elizabeth Warren, also known as Pocahontas on the Hill, I don't know why she comes out and talks, because she takes so much money from pharmaceutical companies. And RFK did not hold back.
Confirmed in this job.
You're going like this.
That is, you promised that you would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them. You just changed the classification of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
Well, most Americans are going to be able to get it from their pharmacy for free. Most Americans will be able to get it from their pharmacy for free.
The question is, everyone who wants it, that was your promise.
No, I didn't. I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying when you said that, because you are the one who said you would not take them away. Now, Senator Kennedy,
I'm not taking them away from anybody.
Secretary,
You want me to indicate a product for which there is no clinical data?
Senator,
is that what you want?
Secretary Kennedy, you said you wouldn't, and now you did.
I'm not taking them away. Everybody can get access to them.
A fool. Now, her good friend, fellow comrade, communist, Bernie Sanders, tried to bail her out. Imagine that. Old multi-million-dollar Bernie Sanders, the man who hates millionaires and is a multimillionaire himself. Take a listen to him trying to bail out Senator Pocahontas.
Okay, you were already president, you got a billionaire behind it. You received $300,000 from people, not from the industry, people in it, as I did, from individuals. You corrupt. President Trump got $3 million. Every Republican got corporate PAC money for the pharmaceutical industry. Democrats as well. Everybody is corrupt, but you? Is that what we're looking at? I don't think so. And I think the issue now...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, I think you do know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The issue is every time anyone disagrees with you...
Are you saying the pharmaceutical industry was supporting my presidential campaign?
I'm saying,
I don't think so.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the pharmaceutical industry is a greedy institution which is charging us the highest prices in the world. They are pervasive. But to suggest that every institution, the AMA, the pediatrics people, is corrupt because they disagree with you is an insult to the American people.
Listen, people disagree with me all the time. I have arguments in my agency, heated arguments every day with Jay Bhattacharya, with Marty McCary, with Dr. Oz.
You have given the names of a few.
Bernie Sanders, another one. He just wants to sit and lecture you. You're not to be rich. You're to listen to me. Nobody takes you serious, Pocahontas. Nobody takes you serious, Bernie Sanders. I mean, you guys are absolutely total fools. Totally embarrassing, and I'd be embarrassed to work for any of those numbskulls. Finally, RFK spoke a little bit about a cover-up at HHS and the CDC and lying about numbers. And we most recently saw this, of course, during the COVID cover-up of numbers. But this was about data from over 20 years ago about measles. Take a listen.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just tell you one example, and I could sit here and give you thousands. But in 2002, CDC did an internal study of Atlanta and Fulton County, Georgia children, and looked at children who got the MMR vaccine on time and compared those to kids who got them later. So in other words, kids who got them before 36 months and kids who got them afterward. The data from that study showed that Black boys who got the vaccine on time had a 260% greater chance of getting an autism diagnosis than children who waited. The chief scientist on that, Dr. William Thompson, the senior vaccine safety scientist at CDC, was ordered to come into a room with 4 other co-authors by his boss, Frank DeStefano, who's the head of the immunization safety branch, and ordered to destroy that data. And then they published it without that fact.
Imagine that. Caught destroying data. I don't think they would ever do such a thing, but who knows? The CDC were known to not always tell the truth, especially when it came to the COVID data, which they may have manipulated a little bit. So as I said before we went to last commercial break, there's some new reporting out from Benny Johnson. Rather troubling news, in my opinion. Breaking: whistleblowers inside HHS and the CDC have just sent me critical information on active sabotage operation taking place inside the federal health departments. Now, why would they do such a thing? Left-wing career bureaucrats are in a total panic over RFK shutting down their big pharma grift, and they're trying to take down agencies from inside. And they're using the CIA to do it. Here's how it's happening. Career CDC bureaucrats are distributing a CIA memo entitled "Simple Sabotage" to their subordinates. I have multiple whistleblowers within the first-hand direct evidence of this. The CDC ranks are now acting out the CIA strategy to the letter. The walkouts, corporate media hits, fake protests, the Senate hearings, it's all staged to systematically sabotage Trump's health agenda. Here's what's going to happen. So let's go through this because I think, and this is directly from what Benny Johnson says was sent to him from the whistleblowers. The manual instructs employees to purposely slow operations by demanding written orders and pretending not to understand while carrying out acts to spread the blame across as many people as possible. It even gives explicit examples. Quote, on the streets, sabotage after dark against a military vehicle. Quote, do everything possible to delay the delivery of orders. Don't deliver it until completely ready. Try to commit acts, quote, try to commit acts for which large number of peoples could be responsible. Of course, that's so nobody takes the blame for anything. Moving on, lowering morale and creating confusion. Employees are encouraged to develop a non-cooperative attitude and get others to do the same. It's like insubordination to me. Paired with this, quote, acting stupid to lower morale, confuse the department to undermine efficiency. This is directly from this, what they're saying is a CIA memo or handbook. You think that's extreme? There's more. The manual teaches staff to make perfection the enemy of good or even simple tasks. It directs them to over-criticize, drag out work, and deliberately submit ineligible documents so they have to be redone. Sounds like going down to the DMV, if you ask me. Meanwhile, staff are instructed to spread propaganda internally to recruit others, turning minor sabotage into mass disruption. Quote, the saboteur may become discouraged unless he feels that he is a member of a large, though unseen group of saboteurs operating against the enemy. This directly from this handbook. While employees are being trained internally to sabotage the Trump administration, a public pressure campaign is being pushed at the same time. 1,000 previous and current HHS employees have signed on to a letter demanding RFK's resignation. Of course, all hidden, I'm sure. Don't want to, let people know who they are, what their names are. But when I think of people signing on to a letter, I think about the letter that we saw last election. The 51 intel chiefs, not last election, 2020, I should say. The 51 intel chiefs. Remember those guys? The 51 intel chiefs who said Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. Russian disinformation. We knew that, of course, not to be true. You and I have brains, so we knew that it was just a good old gaslighting operation from the Marxist Democrats trying to steal an election, which they successfully did in 2020. We're going to take a quick break here, folks. There's so much more on the other side of this break. We're going to get to some more news. I want to get to some of your comments, your questions, though. Before we go to break here, if we could pull those up here. Lindy over on YouTube, they just yelled at him and didn't let RFK respond. Yeah, that's par for the course for the Democrats. You know what they do. They embarrass themselves. Feds intercepted 1,300 barrels of meth, a chemical ship from China to Mexico, and our U.S. Navy SEALs and Air Force took out Sinaloa cartel drug labs in Mexico. Yep, I think this is just the start of it. And by the way, we're going to talk about this on the other side of the break. There's some Republicans who are upset that Donald Trump's blowing up the drug cartels. We got the numbers for you and Marco Rubio's response to it. Thank you to RFK Jr. for all you and the doctors, Peter McCullough, Robert Malone, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, do the show to danger of experimental vaccines. Yeah, all great doctors. Two of the three we've had on this show. One of them a good friend of mine. New York City, is it bad enough yet? Yeah, it's not exactly a desirable place to live anymore, Strafer. If Democratic voters would only take the time to watch such hearings with even a single ounce of critical thinking, they would do what I did 30 years ago and never vote for another Democrat again. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But, as I said in my opening monologue, these people are so tied to this ideology. I don't know if there's a way to get them out of it. So they're willing to go down with the burning ship so be it. You face the consequences, not me and you. Pocahontas Warren needs to be shot out of a circus cannon back into an Indian reservation, of course, with a parachute to make sure she lands safely back to her folks, right? Has anyone been red-pilled more than the former Democrats like RFK and Tulsi Gabbard? Praise the Lord and pray for more red pills. None made by Pfizer, though. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good statement. We should demand a refund for their salaries considering all their failures. Yeah, I don't think we should be paying them. I think we should pull their salaries and make them squeal. These people don't deserve to be getting paid. They're doing absolutely nothing for this country except hurting it, and mostly at the Democrats at that. Let's take one more before we go to break here. Lynn over on YouTube. Funny, so many politicians fight for criminals, but not a peep about missing children on their watch. They are fakes and they are fools. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They don't, and I say this all the time, they don't care. These politicians, 90% of them are heartless, mindless, gutless people. They're just an empty soul, an empty body, an empty object that's put in place to push forward whatever agenda they're being told or paid to push forward. We're going to take a quick break here, folks. As I said, on the other side of this quick break, we're going to talk about Marco Rubio, his message to the cartels. Rand Paul is furious with President Trump once again. We'll tell you why. Federal justices are complaining that the Supreme Court is overruling their anti-Trump rulings. Why would they be so upset? These Marxist folks, they're out of control. So we're taking this quick break. We've got so much more on the other side. Please stay with us, folks. We're coming right back.
Just like all of you, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. I'd flip-flop all night, use my arm for support, and fall asleep, or I'd wake up with a sore neck or maybe a headache. Well, quality sleep comes from keeping your neck straight at night. You have to fill in that space between your head and your bed. That's why I invented My Pillow. My Pillow's patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it doesn't matter if you sleep on your back, stomach, side, or any combination of all three.
When I got My Pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night, and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get Classic King My Pillows for only $19.98. Queen size just $18.98. Standard Classic My Pillows only $14.98. That's right, only $14.98. Plus all orders $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us here on the Great America Show. Where do we start? Where do we pick up? There's so much more news to get to in so little time. We're running out of time, but not before we get to these stories. So let's go through some of them. The DOJ has officially opened their criminal investigation into Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook over her mortgage fraud allegations. According to the Wall Street Journal, Ed Martin, the Justice Department's weaponization czar, is coordinating the investigation. Don't mess with Eagle Ed Martin. Not going to be fun. Subpoenas have already been issued to determine whether she fraudulently obtained her property loans. Now, it was reported yesterday that she apparently told the Biden administration before they appointed her about this mortgage issue that she may have. So she knew about it. She knew that she broke the law. She knew that she committed some possible tax evasion, possible mortgage fraud, and the Biden administration turned their blind eye to criminality. Imagine that. Democrats are so darn corrupt. DC's Attorney General is suing the Trump administration to stop the National Guard deployment. He claims that the troops put public safety at risk. You can't make this up, folks. Washington, D.C.'s Attorney General Brian Schwab Thursday filed this lawsuit against the administration. He wants the National Guard out of there. He wants the federal government out of it. The lawsuit names President Trump, the Department of Defense, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, the United States Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll, the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi, U.S. Marshals, U.S. Marshal Service Director. You go down the list. Now, it's just weird because Muriel Bowser is all on board with this now. She wants her officers cooperating with the federal government. So sort of a little rift there between these people. Hopefully they get it sorted out. Anonymous federal judges are accusing the Supreme Court of undermining the judicial system by overturning their anti-Trump rulings. Yes, they probably said it with a straight face, too. These are the same rogue judges who have undermined democracy for the last 10 years. NBC News is reporting that shocking interview with a dozen federal judges who hid behind anonymity. Of course they did, because they didn't want anyone to know their names, because it's probably the worst of the worst, to attack the Supreme Court for overturning their anti-Trump decisions, accusing the conservative-dominated Supreme Court of undermining the judiciary. I'm not entirely sure it's conservative-dominated. We've seen some of the ways that Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh have ruled on things. I think the only solid, really a new conservative you have on there is Neil Gorsuch, and of course Clarence Thomas is always really good. But you look at Sam Alito as well. But you look at John Roberts. He blows whatever way the wind is blowing that way. He's the one who kept Obamacare for us, who's got us in this healthcare situation. Kavanaugh's another one who, whatever he feels like doing that day. And Amy Coney Barrett, I think, has been an extreme disappointment, in my opinion, the opinion of a lot of conservatives who wish President Trump didn't appoint her to the Supreme Court. But this is the latest ongoing battle this year between anti-Trump resistant judges on the federal bench using their rulings to enact their preferred policies, and the Supreme Court trying to rein them in under constitutional order. The Marxist Dems, if they just played by their own rules, this is one out of their book. Now, the Supreme Court, I don't think, has been swayed towards President Trump. I mean, I'd argue some of the bigger rulings they put out have been against President Trump by kicking things back down to the appeals court or whatever. President Trump has gotten wins, but he's gotten wins not because his name is President Trump and he appointed 3 of those people. He's gotten wins because that's what the law is on his side. The Democrats don't care about the law. They don't know anything about the law. Those are the wins that President Trump has gotten at the Supreme Court. Nobody to thank but himself and the lawyers he's around, and quite honestly, the rule of law. Now, Biden Judge Gia Cobb has been assigned, I told you before about the Attorney General suing for the National Guard deployment. Gia Cobb is also the same judge, coincidentally, assigned to the case of Cook and her lawsuit against President Trump and his administration. Yeah, you can't make this up. You can't make this stuff up, folks. But we've got some good news as it pertains to judges. A federal appeals court this afternoon blocked a federal judge's order to close down good old Alligator Alcatraz. Last month, U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams, who's an Obama appointee, I must say, barred the Trump administration from bringing new illegal detainees to Alligator Alcatraz. She also ordered the facility to be dismantled in 60 days. Well, the facility, which opened over the summer at the direction of Governor Ron DeSantis, surrounded by Florida's natural defenses, including alligators, pythons, and dense swampland, is not going to close after all. Judge Williams previously cited environmental violations for her 2-week pause on the future construction, but the Alligator Alcatraz is staying open, and it's staying open for business. Sorry, Marxist Dems. You guys lost once again. It must suck to be a Democrat these days. I mean, these people haven't gotten a win in I don't know how long, and I think it's going to be a long time before they get a win. Truly, truly, truly flawed people who I don't think know what's going on right now in this country. They don't know what's going on in their own mind. So let's talk a little bit about President Trump's war on the drug cartels. 2 days ago, we saw President Trump blow up that vessel with Venezuelan drugs on it and drug cartels. And of course, there's people on the left who are very upset about it. But there's also people on the right. Thomas Massey's good old pal, Rand Paul, is furious that Donald Trump wants to be the world police. And by world police, that means stopping drugs coming into America. Take a listen to an interview he did last night.
Of that cartel boat, which, you know, I personally think that's a brilliant deterrent to this kind of activity. Is that how you see it?
You know, I guess, it's hard to have any sympathy for drug dealers, trying to import product into our country. But at the same time, I guess you might ask the question, where does it end? Are we the world's policemen, the international policemen? Are we going to be blowing people up off the coast all around the world, trying to interdict. Really, I'm not sure we have the finances to be the world's policeman. So on the face of it, sounds good. Nobody's going to have any kind of lost love for a bunch of drugs going down in the ocean and killing some gang members. But at the same time, really, where does it end? And is it really the constitutional duty of our government to be, policing international drug trade everywhere around the world?
If it's Tren de Aragua sending drugs into this country, though, that there's obviously a line there. I don't think we're going to be bombing people taking drugs from Africa into Europe, right?
Well, no, if it's coming into our country, I think interdicting drugs coming into our country, absolutely, there is a U.S. interest in that. But that's a real question. I don't know the details of where the drugs were going. They may well have been coming to our country, but this was done off the coast of another country. So it is a little bit different. It is unique. Hadn't been done really in decades, where we have a kinetic action against another group inside their territorial waters.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how Rob Schmidt didn't look at him and ask him if he was a total fool against President Trump dominating these drug lords. Now let's go through some of the numbers for 2024. The CDC estimates, not the CDC numbers, I'm not entirely sure we could always trust as we watched what they did with COVID, but their provisional numbers show that just over 80,000 Americans died from drug overdoses. 80,000 Americans died from drug overdoses. Now, this is only people on their death certificate who have drug overdoses listed. If there were autopsies not done, of course, they're not included in those 80,000 people, right? So 80,000 is what they say the number is. It's well over 100,000 because, like I said, you take into account those people who know autopsy was done. If you got a son who was sitting in his bed and you walked in and the guy's dead and you see fentanyl or cocaine or pills next to his bed, you don't have to know an autopsy to know that he probably overdosed. So in that case, that would not be counted towards that 80,000. So the estimates are well over 100,000. Now, the CDC, as I said, has them at just over 80,000. The CDC estimates that of those 80,000 for last year, 55,000 of them were from primarily fentanyl. But Rand Paul doesn't think we should be the world's police. We should let drugs flow anywhere. Doesn't matter to us. Doesn't matter. It's not our business. Maybe he should start taking issue with China sending the fentanyl over here and let Donald Trump do his job and blow up these drug lords to smithereens. The more of them dead means the more Americans that will be alive. Now, Marco Rubio, clearly on the separate page from Rand Paul on this, had this chilling message for these drug dealers and drug lords who think they're going to destroy America and continue to do so.
The United States has long, for many, many years, established intelligence that allow us to interdict and stop drug boats. And we did that. And it doesn't work. Interdiction doesn't work because these drug cartels, what they do is they know they're going to lose, 2% of their cargo. They bake it into their economics. What will stop them is when you blow them up, when you get rid of them. The President of the United States is going to wage war on narco-terrorist organizations. This one was operating in international waters, headed towards the United States to flood our country with poison. And under President Trump, those days are over.
And it wasn't a one-off. Rubio says strikes like these will happen again.
If you just paid attention, Rand Paul, you would have known that ship was on its way to America. So do we have a right, Rand, to defend our sovereign country? Do we have a right to protect our American citizens from drugs? Is that President Trump's right? Or is it being the world police? I don't understand what's wrong with some of these libertarian guys who call themselves libertarian and their disconnect from reality. There's a difference between going to start unnecessary wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria and destroy other people's countries. There's a big difference between that and blowing up drug cartels who are killing Americans here on our soil. Wouldn't you say, Rand Paul? I mean, that's just my view on it. I think some of you out there probably share a similar view. I've been calling for a war on the drug cartels since President Trump returned to office. It's the first war we'd probably win in a very, very long time. Now, I don't dislike Rand Paul as a person. I think he's done a pretty solid job. But on issues like this, I mean, you've got to get your head out of the ground. I mean, we can't continue to survive as a country like this. It's not going to work. It is certainly not going to work. Now, we've been having a little bit of fun with Rand Paul's good pal, Thomas Massey, here on the Great America Show over the last few days. Jasmine Crockett, everyone's favorite hoodlum, everyone's favorite thug from Texas, was praising Thomas Massey just yesterday. That's pretty crazy because Massey's a staunch conservative. He's a fiscal conservative. Never votes for raises in the budget. Never votes to raise the debt ceiling. He's as conservative as thou. There is nobody more conservative than Thomas Massey. Take his word for it. So Jasmine Crockett was on defending Massey, which is weird because she's Marxist left and he's the most conservative member of Congress. Let's hear what she had to say about him.
I will have to tell you that I respect Thomas Massey. Clearly, we don't agree on a lot, but where we can find agreement, we do. And the reason that I respect him is because he always shows you who he is. He is what I would consider to be a traditional conservative. He believes in transparency. He doesn't believe in whatever Trump tells him to believe. He believes in things like fiscal conservatism. He knows who he is, and he never backs down. And
oh boy, I bet you wish you didn't say that, Thomas Massey. Oh, I bet you wish you didn't say that. He knows who he is. He doesn't back down. There's nothing to back down from. He's a grandstander. He's a gaslighter. Now, I know a lot of people get upset with me saying that, but I've been doing this a long time. I've been in politics game for a long time. I've met, worked with, spoke to a lot of these politicians, which is why I don't, you folks probably notice, I don't really have that many politicians on the show anymore. Lou didn't like having them on in the first place. There was a select few of them that he liked, and he and I share. I mean, to name a few, Jim Jordan, James Comer, Tim Burchett are a few of the ones that I actually like. A few over on the Senate side. But it's all the same stuff with these people. It's all the same gaslighting, how you can fire up people, how you can piss people off. It's the same stuff. Time and time again with these politicians. As I said, most of them soulless, gutless, heartless people. And not the smartest of people either. This is what we get, though. This is the pool of people we get for politicians when you got to be worried that someone's coming for your head like they did to Donald Trump. You all remember what they did to Donald Trump. We all witnessed it for the last 10 years. So who in their right mind would want to run for office? So we're stuck with the Jasmine Crockett's of the world, the Thomas Massey grandstanders of the world. This is what we're stuck with. We have no choice. Before we wrap up, folks, let's end the day on a light note. We got through a lot of news today, a lot of important stuff, but I want to end the day on a sort of a light note. President Trump took to social media yesterday to have some fun and do a little thing called trolling. Posted a series of clips, and we're just going to run through them real quickly. Hey. Oh boy, I'm sorry that you all had to witness that disgusting sumo wrestle between the two fellas. What else do we got here? We've got Adam Schiff, it looks like, made the troll list.
To the president, anyone who criticizes the president, anyone who says anything adverse to the president's interests gets the full weight of the federal government brought down on them.
Good old pencil neck Adam Schiff. He's probably more deserving than I guess any of them. A total liar, a total cheat. Guy is not a good man. I think we've got one more for you, folks. President Trump, one of his favorite people. I think we've got it. Let's see if we can get it up here. I think it's of our good friend. Where is she? Rosie O'Donnell. As previously mentioned, we were giving serious thought to taking away Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship. She's not a great American and is, in my opinion, incapable of being so. So that's how President Trump spends his night. Not bad for a man who they told us over the weekend was dead, right? He still got his sense of humor. President Trump is, however, a great American, doing a terrific job, in my opinion, so far. Folks, that's all for us tonight here on the Great America Show. As always, I appreciate you all tuning in and staying with us through this live show. A great deal of information we covered tonight. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the Great America Show, folks. Truth, Justice, and the American Way is going to continue. We're going to have one of your favorite guests here on the show tomorrow, so we'll have some fun and end our Friday strong. We'll see you back here tomorrow, folks. Until then, may God bless you all. May God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. God bless you all. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.